And we can put this into motion so we can see where that storm has been going. Perhaps the more intense part of that storm will stay away from Cocodrie. That looks to be the trend. Sometimes these storms can kind of build in crazy different directions, but if this trend were to keep it more south, I would say the most intense rainfall in lower Terrebonne Parish would probably stay to the west of Cocodrie for our tornado warning in Golden Meadow now. Note that looks like Galliano, at least part of Galliano, is starting to clear from even the heavier rainfall. Still some intense rain over Golden Meadow, but it does look like the rotation within that storm is probably more so over the bayou there. So just the west of Golden Meadow looks like that. And that little couplet's still showing up. So it may be a little persistent waterspout that is sitting out over the bayou. But as we've said, the last several passes of the radar beam and the last several images that have come into the radar site all seem to indicate that this little couplet, this rotation, is moving south. So this is now almost kind of west-southwest of Golden Meadow, and a trend that if it continues, then probably, sound the all clear for the community of Golden Meadow as that storm continues pushing down to the south. And certainly if it continues along that way, it would be well, if it does hold together, it would be well removed from Port Fourchon. So hopefully that the port itself is safe from that if it, one, is able to hold together, and two, continues along that path, taking it almost due south. Still kind of showing a little bit of a hook, but so that is indicating that that little couplet, that rotation, is fairly persistent. However, it is likely that that rotation is no longer over land, and probably hasn't been for the last, say, 15 minutes or so. As it moved away from Galliano, it generally had been moving almost more due south, and it looks like that is now more so, and this is the shear marker where we can actually track rotation within the thunderstorm, that it looks like that has been moving almost more due south. It looks like that'll be a trend which continues, taking that rotation of the storm away from Golden Meadow. Golden Meadow at the moment still dealing with some strong winds. And we do have some video from Galliano, so let's take a look at that. And this, it almost looks like a repeat of what we saw yesterday in Kramer with the hail within these thunderstorms. We've, at least over the last several days, have been dealing with more of the heat, and more of these stronger thunderstorms have been a little bit more removed over the Florida beaches, Alabama, even Mississippi. But that pattern has changed, and the upper high, which had been kind of controlling these systems, has moved a little bit more to the west, and so it's allowed for more of these storms to move our way. And sure enough, we are getting some reports now, numerous reports now, of hail in the Galliano area. Thankfully, I've not seen or heard of any reports, so we're getting a lot of viewer images here, a lot of folks hopefully doing this from a safe distance when the real threat has passed. So another viewer report of hail in Galliano. Thankfully, we're getting a lot of reports of the rain, the storm structure, the hail in Galliano. So far, nothing about any wind damage, any damage, regardless of what it was from, or any sightings of a waterspout or a tornado. Again, even if this was, say, you're in Golden Meadow and you're maybe hoping to catch a glance of the waterspout that I would say more than likely has developed, you're looking through some very intense rainfall. And notice, it does look like a lot of LA1 continuing to dry out, with even starting to see, or beginning to see, continuing to see, the more intense rainfall moving away from Golden Meadow. So it really looks like, in that little hook signature really showing up as well, it looks definitely like the rotation is moved away from land, not building back toward Golden Meadow, more to the almost due west of Golden Meadow, and that rotation is out over the bayous just to the west of any of the population there. So just about ready to kind of sound the all clear for even Golden Meadow, as what has been a persistent little couplet showing up on our last several scans of radar, that we're looking to be probably in pretty good shape for Golden Meadow as the storms are moving away. The rotation is moving away as well. Actually, we can take a look at what the hail may be doing within that storm as well. The lightning counter is coming way down, so the storm is weakening. And it looks like also, if there's any hail, those hail sizes have started to decrease to now just pea size, which is not going to do any damage. And it looks like, for the most part, that is all over the bayou and actually starting to move outside of our warned area. So we could probably sound the all clear for Golden Meadow as the rotation is not building back toward land. The heaviest of the rainfall starting to and will continue to move out of Golden Meadow, and that rotation has been probably more over the bayou over the last numerous scans of the radar, so it doesn't look like that is building back westward in any way, that it will continue moving down to the south. As I said, this warning, the tornado warning, is only in effect for the next 5 minutes, so Weather Service is likely just going to leave this one up, may reissue this possibly. If that little couplet continues to show up, it's possible that they could reissue this as another tornado warning. It's, I guess, technically still over land, so this wouldn't be just a marine warning for the mention of a possible waterspout. It's possible they could reissue this as another tornado warning. Sometimes that definition of land is questionable in some of our bayou parishes and coastal locations, where it's, yes, maybe technically still land, but not quite to the level of needing a marine warning. I'd be surprised, honestly, just watching that little couplet continue to show up and that little hook echo continuing to show up, that I'd be surprised if they don't extend something, reissuing either the tornado warning or issuing a marine advisory for kind of northern Terrebonne Bay. I would expect to see at least something with this warning expiring in the next in the next 5 minutes or so. That little couplet, boy, that's still showing up. Let's actually kind of take this back in time and show you what it has been doing over the last hour or so. It was around this time during our 5 o'clock newscast that even the airport radar was starting to show some little indications of maybe some rotation, but not quite enough to warrant a tornado warning. In their severe thunderstorm warning, they did mention the possibility of a tornado, but didn't come out and issue a warning for it. Then, as that little couplet continued to show up on several scans, kind of between 5:45, 5:50 or so, and it was around this time that the warning was triggered. Then it was over Galliano. As we continue this over the last now almost half hour, it has been moving due south. Maybe not a whole lot of motion over the last several minutes, but it has been moving almost more due south. So I would say it is away from Golden Meadow now and not really affecting any other part of the population. We do have the severe thunderstorm warning for lower Terrebonne. Looks like the bulk of this strong weather is going to stay out over the bayous south of Jugs Landing, west of Cocodrie, so no problems there. We have seen a few pop-up showers a little bit more north of that, around Schriever, around Homa. Nothing severe, nothing intense, and that looks to be maybe a trend which may continue over the next hour or so. Let me put this into motion. This could continue with these little pop-up showers for the next hour or so. You did see the little outflow boundary we were showing you a moment ago. It's actually got a little bit of cloud cover here in the city from this little outflow within those thunderstorms. In fact, across the West Bank and much of the city now, JP, you may have already felt kind of a little wind gust, maybe kind of a cool wind gust from the south. That was this outflow boundary that has been spreading away from those storms down near the coastline. So far, I've not really seen anything initializing or initiating where you can get additional thunderstorm development along those little outflow boundaries. It looks like that has not been the case within that, but a possibility as that little outflow continues to spread now to the Mississippi, basically from the Mississippi Sound north of the Chandeleurs around Cat Island, all the way out past Destrehan and Hahnville. So a long outflow boundary from those storms which had been down along the coastline. One little shower has popped up in Lake Bourne, but that has been it. Weather Service will probably leave this up for the next 2-3 minutes or so, and just waiting to see what their thinking is as with regards to reissuing a tornado warning, or maybe placing this as a marine warning for Terrebonne Bay. The little couplet's still showing up, but thankfully, again, it doesn't look like that this is affecting land any longer, and really has not been for now almost the last 25 minutes or so. So just checking with the chat group and the National Weather Service office to see if they're thinking anything in terms of extending this or issuing something new. We do have a few marine warnings out for around Boothville to Southwest Pass of the Mississippi for some of the storms that have been there. No new reports, thankfully, into the National Weather Service office. I don't believe we've had any reports into our newsroom either. Several residents are sending in those images to the National Weather Service office as well as to our newsroom and via social media of hail, but it looks like that is not really has not really caused any problems, as I'm just kind of waiting to see what the Weather Service is going to do here in the next minute. They have not said whether or not they're going to extend this. Normally, right before they would allow a warning to expire, they would mention if they are going to allow it to extend or reissue this possibly as another warning. So I'm just going to ask, since we're kind of rounding out the end of our 6 o'clock newscast, I'm going to ask our producer to let me know what we want to do. Is it looks like the risk to any part of the population is done. So I think, okay, so we're going to kind of wrap this up here. We will continue to monitor these storms on Eyewitness News on WPL through our 6:30 newscast, but at the moment it looks like the severe risk for any of the populations has come to an end down along in both Lower Terrebonne and Lower LaFourche.
Yeah, Chris, we are hearing that there are some reports of downed power lines down in Golden Meadow from some fire chiefs there in the fire district. Reports of hail that looks to be about a quarter size in that area. So we'll continue to follow what the storms have caused this afternoon down the bayou.
All right. Of course, we'll continue in Eyewitness News at 6:30. Switch over to